Guys, let's take a look at our statistics overview and how to use your calculator. So when we work on a problem like this, we're really going to be looking at what are these basic ideas of statistics, what are some different definitions and things like that. So our goal is today that you can understand the definitions and you can use different measures of graphical displays of statistical data and read it. And then finally, you're going to learn how to use your calculator, how to use it to help you create and do a lot of the work in statistics. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's just go through and begin here. Some basic definitions. I'm going to go ahead and kind of talk through them as I go. So the first one is mean, and that's really just the average of the values. You guys have been studying this since somewhere back in elementary school. It's where you add up all the different values you possibly have, divide by the number of values. That's your mean, that's your average. Then we've got median data. That's the very middle of data, but it has to be ordered from least to greatest. Mode is the most repeated data. You'll notice that I'm missing one. Normally there's one, but it's going to be later on. The mode is the most repeated value or values. It could be multiple. It depends. Now we're looking at these next to the upper and lower extreme. Well, those are makes good sense. One is the smallest value, the minimum number, and the largest number. So if you need to pause before you go on to get these written down, please do that. I'm going to keep going for the sake of the length of the video. So now we've got some different things that you probably learned a little bit about last year. We talked about quartiles last year when you're doing box and whisker plots with one of your pre-algebra teachers. So the lower quartile is the median value of the lower half. So if you take the median and you take that first half, where's the median of that first half? That's Q1. And the upper quartile would be the median value of the upper half. So again, you take the median to the right of the median. What is the middle of that data? Your range is going to be that last basic measure we looked at, is the minimum minus the maximum. And then you've got an IQR, or interquartile range, where it is for Q3 minus Q1. That's where 50% of your data lives. We'll take a look at box and whiskers, and then at the very end of the unit, we'll connect them to a bell curve and kind of talk a little bit about what we've seen there too. So, and how those connect. So that gives you some basic definitions we need, these 9 different phrases, these 9 different ideas to help us work through what we're looking at. So if we're going to use our first thing we got to do, if we're given a data set, well, we're going to create all these different pieces of data. Now that means we're going to do some little bit of stuff by hand. You can use a calculator too. I've got my handy dandy one sitting next to me on the side of the table. But let's start with the median and the mode. Those are pretty easy to take care of. So the most repeated number, if I look down here really quickly, I've got 3 tens. There's my mode. I don't have any other numbers that have 3 of the same value, so I'm good here. To give my upper and lower extreme, my quartiles, and my range, and my IQR, hey, those all require me to put these in order from least to greatest. So 4, I'm going to cross them out as I go. I'll erase them at the end, but I want to make sure I've got them all. I've got 3 tens, 10, 10, 10. All right, I've got a 14, a 15, a 16. 14, 15, 16, 22, and 25. All right, 22, 25. So that's all mine in order. So let's go ahead and do our median from here. There's 10 data points, so the median is going to be right here between the two. And remember when we were doing median when we were younger, the idea is it's very middle of number. How do I find the middle of 10 and 14? Well, the difference is 4, so halfway through the difference is going to be 12. So now I'm going to find my lower extreme, which is 4. My upper extreme, which is 25. Now I can do my quartiles from here. Where is the middle of this half of data? Well, it's 10 right there. There's Q1. Okay, so it's 10. My quartile here, Q3, is going to be the very middle here. So that's this. My range is 25 minus 4 is 21. And my interquartile range is 6. 16 minus 10. Now last one I've got to do is mean. So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to sit out and kind of break it apart to make my math easier. I'm going to go ahead and add up each side. So this one's 38. So 14, 15, 29, 39, 39 and 6 is 45, 45 and 47. So that gives me 92. I'm going to add those up. I'm going to use my handy dandy calculator sitting right next to me. 38 plus 92. And divide that by 10. Let's see, that doesn't seem right. 38 plus 92. That gives me 130 divided by 10. My mean is 13. Okay, and that's all I did. I found 130, and then we divided by 10 to get that little bit. Okay, I'm going to have you guys now. Let's talk a little bit about box and whiskers for a minute. You guys did this one last year. Oh, do I have box and whiskers on here? I don't. So that's one you're going to practice on your own. I'm going to let you guys practice that because it's got all those same data points. Let's take a look at a stem and leaf. So flip the page in your notes, second page. Let's see, what does a stem and leaf plot tell me? Okay. Well, its job is a way of measuring data values. It's a way of kind of talking about that, a shorter way of writing a list of data. So really this means 52, 54, 56, and 58, 61, and so on. So you can kind of see, it kind of gives you a key down here. 7 and 2 means 72. The tens place, the ones place. Sometimes stem and leaves are hundreds place and tens place, or so on and so forth, depending on it. So you can go, what's my highest score? Well, the highest score is this, lowest score is over here. Highest score is 96. So it's 52 and 96. Those are my highest and my lowest, my lower extreme and my upper extreme. What test score shows most frequently? Well, let's look through it. I see 3 4s here in a row. 2 3s, but that's only 2. Okay, the one I see that happens the most is 74. Okay, in which of the 10-point intervals, which is each of these interval pieces, did most of the students score? Well, that's right here in the 70s. You can see the greatest amount of data. You've got 6 data points. So in the 70 to 80 mark. Well, 70 to 79, really. How many students scored better than 70? Well, 1, 2, that's 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 and 4 is 13 students. And how many students scored less than a 70? Well, that's looking down here, that's 7 students. So you can see just by kind of looking it over and thinking, it's kind of like a little bit like a sideways bar graph, if you want to think, but it gives us exact data points, but it also gives us a graphical representation of that information. It gives us the values in a graphical display. You're going to do the other one for a little later. Now let's take a look at a histogram. A histogram is it's another way to look at data intervals. It takes that stem and leaf we just looked at a second ago, and it takes it and goes, okay, what instead of putting down all the individual data points, what if I just say from 70 to 79, where's all the data that fits there? Where's the data that fits in certain places? So let's take a look at this one. This is example number 1 in the histogram. An interval group is just a space of data. How many students took the test? Well, to do that, you just kind of have to add everything up. So 2 here, 2, 4 students, 8 students, 12 students, and then down here 6 more. So 2, 4, 6, 8. That gives me 32 students took the test. I simply add all that up. How many students scored at least a 71? Well, so we don't know what they scored in this rank, but we know it's at least 71. So 8, 12, 26 students. And can you determine the highest possible grade from the histogram? No. Because we just have a rate of data. That could all be 91s or all be 93s. It could all be hundreds, but we don't know. So that's where the difference between this histogram and the stem and leaf is. The stem and leaf, I can find my highest grade. I can find my upper extreme and my lower extreme. But on a histogram, I can't do that. All right, now that we've kind of talked about different graphical displays, you're going to finish the rest of the other examples in class, those 3 other examples for homework tonight. We're going to go ahead and work my way through this next one. So this is going to teach us how to use our calculator. So to do that, I've got the exact notes right here in front of me, but I'm going to bring up my calculator on the test. So let me bring that up here. This is my example of the TI-83 plus TI-84 plus CE Smart View from Texas Instruments. Let's go ahead and take a look at how your calculator works on this. We're going to be using the stat function. So you can see in your notes, you're going to hit that stat button. It's going to bring up this menu right here. In here, I'm going to go in and I'm going to edit my data. So I'm going to hit 1 and I get this giant list of data. These are different lists I can put in at the same time and kind of figure out the information I have. It allows me to type all my information in. It's going to give me a tremendous amount of information with just a couple button pushes. So first thing you got to do, sit here and type in your different numbers. Oh, I made a mistake. So to fix that, I just highlight it, 7, 4, enter, and I can just type right over it. So I'm going to type all these in. They don't have to be in order. I wanted just to go ahead and show you that it's pretty easy. I'm just typing it real quickly. 91, 52, 73, 72. Oh, I typed 83. I got to fix that. 73. There we go. 72. Now after 72 is 66, 92, 68, 75, 66, 84, 82. Now, I always count to make sure I've got 16 pieces of data in. I know my thing says shown, if I look back here, it says 16 students, so I know I've got all that in inside in the calculator, all put together. I always run down real quick, make sure I've got them all. So I arrow up and just check it one more time. 74, 98, 60, 72, 80, 91, 52, 73, 72, 66, 92, 68, 75, 66, 84, and 82. So I've typed everything in correctly, because if I don't type it in correctly, I know I'm going to make a mistake. So once I've done that, I'm going to go back to my stat menu. I've got all my data in, it's going to save, and I'm going to click right here. It allows me, let me clear my history so I don't see anything. Oh, made it mad. Here we go. I cleared my history, so now I'm going to go over to the different ways I can get calculation information I can get out of here. Well, the one we're going to use today primarily is one variable stat. One variable stat just simply gives me all the information I need. And I don't have to do much since I put everything in L1. I'm just going to hit enter twice or 3 times, and it's going to give me a whole bunch of numbers in order. Some of them make perfect sense. Some of them we can kind of read and go, oh, it's got minimum and maximum, Q1, Q2, Q3, median. It's got all those data points that we kind of looked at. So I'm going to jump back here to these notes and kind of show you what that means. So let's kind of take a minute and put down the information we have. What each one of those different symbols stands for. So the first symbol is our mean data. And you're going to say, okay, this one is 75.3125. It gives us to us X bar. That's what mean does. This one is the sum of all the data. So if I added them all up, it's useful for the sum. So it's 1,205. So I'm skipping X squared. That's the sum of all the data squared. We don't really need that right now. And I'm skipping SX and sigma and omega X. Those are different values we'll use at a later time. We're going to jump down here. N stands for the number of values, so we know we put 16 in. I'm going to jump back over, and you can see I've got all this other data points down here. Minimum X, Q1, median, Q3, and max. So that's all our last little pieces. Our minimum value on this data we see right here is 52. Then we have our Q1. If it wants to come up, there you go, Q1. Our median, our Q3, and our maximum value. And these are all pieces of data I can pull right here. 67, 73.5, and my calculator does all this math for me, which I love, 83 and 98. Now imagine if we had this back when we were doing box and whisker plots. This would make this so much easier. One thing I do want to note is you will not be able to find mode or range with your calculator. You've got to be able to find those yourself, but you could do that really quickly to find range by looking at your minimum and maximum value right here. Right here. You could find your most repeated number just by looking at your data across the point. Which one's the most common? Right now I think I see 72, the most common. As I look over it, I don't see any other repeated numbers other than 72. I see that one twice. So that kind of says, okay, now I've got all my data. I can pull that information. But those are pretty quick and easy to find by hand. So that lets you guys kind of go through and take a look at using your calculator. What I'm going to have you guys do is finish those other pieces, okay? You're going to go ahead and using this calculator stuff, this information, you're going to put in this new data on the rest of your homework, and that's going to help you finish up your homework. So you're going to find in exercise 2 and 3, that's what you're going to be doing. This gives you a good starting point for using your calculator, a good starting point to do everything you need it to do, okay? If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to help you. All right. Have a good day.